The Prime Minister is making a last-ditch effort to secure a seat on the United Nations Security Council. Julia Gillard has just arrived in New York. She'll spend the week lobbying world leaders and will address the United Nations General Assembly later in the week.
Now, Australia launched its bid for one of the two non-permanent seats on the Security Council back in 2008. An actual vote won't be held until the middle of next month. But Karina, a very intense lobbying session about to unfold this week.
Yes, it is. This is a process that started way back in 2008 for Australia. It was a pet project of the former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. We know the Foreign Affairs Minister Bob Carr has been doing a lot of lobbying of late in the United States. He's arrived in New York already. He says, though, that it's going to be a rather difficult process for Australia because we started the process so much later than other countries such as Finland and Luxembourg.
Both lodging their bids about 10 years ago. Of course, our bid's only about 4 years old. He was very much dampening expectations or engaging in a bit of expectation management during his appearance on Insiders yesterday. Well, to flesh out more about what the week ahead is in for the Prime Minister, we're joined now by Lisa Miller from New York. Lisa, good morning. The Prime Minister does indeed to hit the ground running there.
She certainly does. She's got a big week. I think she's got about 11 bilateral meetings. She has touched down and we will be hearing from her shortly. But certainly this week is very important in regards to that lobbying that is going on. The actual vote doesn't happen until October the 18th, when all 193 members of the UN decide whether Australia will get this spot here. But certainly there'll be a lot of lobbying going on, a lot of approaching the African countries, because we did come into this race much later than the others. Luxembourg and Finland, who are our major competitors, were certainly there a long time before us lobbying. So there is a lot of legwork to be done, and this week will be pretty critical in that regard.
I was just saying earlier, Lisa, the Foreign Minister Bob Carr seemed to be lowering expectations during his appearance on Insiders yesterday. Are Australian officials there on the ground being pretty realistic about their chances of winning that non-permanent seat?
Well, it just depends whether Europe votes as a bloc for both Luxembourg and Finland. It depends how many of those, I think it's about 53 or 54 votes from Africa we have managed to attract across. But the reality is Australia is a big contributor to the budget, to the peacekeeping troops. We haven't actually had a seat on the Security Council, one of these non-permanent seats, for more than 25 years now. So there is a sense, not just from the Australian officials, but from others, that perhaps it is time for Australia to be back in the inner circle. So I guess they're playing it down because they don't want everyone to say, well, hang on, you've spent tens of millions of dollars on this bid and what did it bring us? But certainly there's an expectation that it's time for Australia, and I think they'll be very disappointed if it doesn't pay off.
OK, what else is likely to dominate there this week in the first week of the General Assembly, Lisa?
Well, I mean, clearly Syria will dominate, clearly Iran's nuclear program, but there's definitely a different vibe about this UN General Assembly, Michael, from previous ones that I've covered, and you can blame the US election because of that. Barack Obama, instead of coming for a few days and meeting lots of leaders, he's coming for a total of 24 hours, and he's holding no one-on-one meetings with any other leaders. He's leaving that for Hillary Clinton. He's certainly come under some criticism for not meeting with people that he would be expected to meet with, like Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, who has said that he really wants to meet with him. So the US election campaign certainly changing how much might actually be achieved here this week. It is the week of international diplomacy, but at the end of it all, it may well just be a chance for people to have their say, for a lot of speeches to be given, but I'm not sure we're going to see any great advancements when it comes to those two big issues of Syria and Iran.
And finally, Lisa, as you well know, these big UN meetings are always a very stern test for police and other authorities there. Has New York gone crazy yet?
We're standing on Park Avenue on a strip of grass. We've already had the police and the sniffer dogs come and have a little smell around us to check that we're okay. So yes, lots of security. The President is actually spending his one night in New York in the same hotel as the Australian Prime Minister. So we're bracing ourselves for some pretty strict security over that 24-hour period.